are also very able, and people have understand the feelings and followed the feeling in their
Yes,
expression and their performance.
very right. Namaste, Vasanti ma'am.
Yeah, and we would like to hear from our participants also. So if
Yes,
anybody have any
certainly.
sharing, any exploration, or anything to share, we would really like to hear from you. So kindly raise your hand so that we can provide you mic. It is live on YouTube as well.
Dr. Arvind, sir, you'd raise the hand and mic has been provided. Dr. Arvind?
Yes,
Arjun.
yes, madam.
Yes, I saw your hand. That is why mic has been passed on. Would you like to share something?
Yes, madam. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much, madam, for allowing me to participate. The program was very good, madam. But may I know, madam, any like other details also, like if you don't mind, certificates, madam, issuing certificates. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Sir, your voice is very feeble. Uh, very, very light. It's difficult to hear your voice, sir.
Is it? Sorry, is it okay, madam? No.
Yeah, Arvind sir, as far as I got your question,
Mhm.
the about the certification detail, all the message were clearly mentioned there in the mail sent by the AICT to the director or the VC of the college. So, uh, to be in brief, I can say that there is no provision for the certificate in this eSIP, but if
Okay.
any institute wants to provide a certificate to their students, so on institution request, the AICT and CIP can provide the student attendance detail.
Okay, so actually, I'm working as a faculty,
But
sir.
rest of the things are mentioned in the induction mail sent to the directors and VC.
Okay.
So
Right.
no provision of certificate from AICT side or NCCIP side, sir.
Yes. And Parikshit Bhaiya,
College or
moreover,
university can provide. Yeah,
yes, yes, Bhaiya. And
yeah. Go ahead, please.
this is to let all the participants know that we'll be having
One thing, sir.
a session.
How do they come to know that I have participated?
Bhaiya, Arvind sir is
Pardon,
saying
sir.
something. Are you able to hear, sir?
Sir, yes, madam. Thank you for the response. What I'm saying, madam, how will they, like institutions, come to know that we have attended the program? Because once we register, we expect that we get certificates from the respective institution.
That certificate is for FDP, sir, and it was not an IP. It was an eSIP, mainly focused for students.
This
And
is okay, sir.
students have
Actually, I
registered
attended
by their
two.
institution. Yeah, CTID. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm,
no.
mm-hmm.
What I'm saying, sir, I already completed 2 weeks program. This module, AICT 2 weeks program. I'm asking about that, sir.
Mm-hmm. Same
Morning.
on there is no provision of certificate in that eSIP program, sir.
Pardon, sir. Hello, sir.
There is no provision of yes, sir. There is no provision of certificate in that eSIP program. In other way, there are provision of certificate. And if you go through once that letters by the city, you will be more clear about that.
Okay, sir.
And
Yeah.
moreover, Parikshit Bhaiya, on Fridays we'll be having the follow-up session on health as well at the same time.
Yes, yes,
That is
yes.
7:30. So I think it is 7:30 right now. So a very warm welcome to Arjun Asthana ji. And of course, we would like our participants to interact with Arjun ji on, of course, since it's a follow-up, ESIP follow-up session for module 1, and that is Universal Human Values. So I'll invite Arjun Asthana ji to take on the session now. so that interaction can be done. And yes, Dr. Jyoti has also risen her hand. So maybe Dr. Jyoti, if you would like to share something. Am I able to reach Dr. Jyoti? Well, maybe I'm not able to. Yes. So we'll
Maybe
have
it look like Dr. Jyoti has lost the connection.
connectivity.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yes. Right now, also the connectivity issues at my
Yes,
end
yes.
also, because I was not able to hear Dr. Arvind at all. Uh, so yes, maybe there's some connectivity problem. So we'll request
No,
Arjun.
voice are very feeble. So as yeah,
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good
good
evening,
evening, good
Arjun.
evening.
How has it been the whole week?
Great.
And we waited for this particular session, the very interactive, energetic session with the students. Yes.
Shall we start then?
I think we shall start with probably Dr. Jyoti has raised her hand again. So maybe if we are able to get connected, maybe we'll request Dr. Jyoti to put up her view.
Sure, sure.
Dr. Jyoti, is the mic with you? If it is, then please do unmute. Otherwise, you can put up your views in the chat so that we can read it out from there. Again, probably maybe due to some connectivity issue, we are not really able to get connected. So I think, Arjun, we can begin with the session now.
Okay.
Right.
So today's discussion will be on the other feelings in relationship. We've talked about trust and respect. So today's session will talk about the other feelings.
Fine.
We've seen that, to recap, we can see that our basic human aspiration is continuous happiness and prosperity. And what exactly happiness is, earlier there was a preconditioning that happiness is different for different people. But then, if you look deeply, you can see that happiness is to be in harmony. And we all have that natural acceptance for happiness because we all want to be in harmony. And we can also see that the program for fulfillment of this basic human aspiration is understanding the harmony and living in harmony at all four levels of our existence. So, when we talk about the feelings in relationship, we are talking about 9 feelings, which are feelings which are naturally acceptable to all of us, and we can see that like through self exploration we can see that whatever we are exploring, we can like link it with our real life situations, real life whatever is happening in our life, and also with uh, like just look at these things and see for ourselves. So harmony in the family, as we have seen before also, that relationship is between oneself and another self. It's not between two bodies, it's between two selves. And there are feelings. These feelings, as we are seeing that there are 9 feelings. So this was already discussed in the SIP, but we didn't go into much detail about the other feelings. We talked about trust and we talked about respect, but we didn't talk about the other ones in much detail. So today we are going to talk about those. So the trust is the foundation value because without trust, the other feelings don't like you can't experience the other feelings without trust, because trust is the feeling that the other wants to make me happy and I want to make the other happy. So only then you can make a program with the other person. So then only then you can have a meaningful relationship, right? So that's how trust is the foundation value. And then we also see respect as the fact that we are similar to each other and we are also complementary to each other. So once we can see these two, then we can, then the other feelings start showing as we go ahead. So if there's any questions so far about what we covered in the last session or so far, we can just take that briefly and then we'll go into affection. Yeah. Is there any question? Two hands are raised. We can't do. Doesn't have. Dr. Jyoti doesn't have the. Okay. Not connected. Okay. Are there any? You can write your question in the chat if there's anything so far. Is that not working? You can ask. Is the voice audible? My voice.
Yes, bhaiya, perfectly audible.
Yeah, yeah. Just wanted to ask if there's any question so far about trust and respect before we move on.
So, dear participant, kindly raise your hand to interact so that we can provide mic to you. Welcome.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Okay, there's one. There's one question. I think one. Yeah, I think nothing is there right now. You go ahead. So, affection is the feeling of being related to the other and the acceptance of the other as one's relative. So, that means that when we can see that, that feeling of, first of all, when we can see trust and respect, then automatically we feel related to the other. So, that is the feeling of affection. And when there is affection, then you can see that from both sides there is responsibility for maintaining um, that commitment and responsibility for mutual happiness, right? Because both y- through trust you can see that you also want to be happy and the other also wants to be happy, and through respect you can also see that we are both complementary to each other, and um, we are both committed for helping each other. So that way we can also see that we start to have the feeling of affection, which is the feeling of being related to the other. So one has the responsibility and commitment for mutual happiness, and the opposite scenario is jealousy, which is an indication of absence of affection, and this happens when we think of ourselves as separate and not as like we don't look at it as we are both complementary. We look at it as we are both separate, we are both different. So the difference comes, and then the difference turns into jealousy when we discriminate based on that difference. So would anyone like to say anything over here? I think there are very few people, so we'll go ahead. Is there any question from YouTube as well?
Uh, I think Miss Jaiswal, Rushika, raised her hand. And ma'am, you have the mic if you would like to discuss something. Uh, Maybe we are not able to really reach out to ma'am.
Hello,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
sir. Can you please give the example of affection and jealousy?
Yeah, jealousy is basically absence of affection. So that is a feeling which is not naturally acceptable. So that's why we don't talk about it much, because it cannot be in continuity. Jealousy is something which is coming only because we are not able to see the relationship between the two selves. So that is like an absence of affection. So there's nothing more to discuss on that exactly, except for the fact that, why it happens and all we can see. But even why it happens is based on the same thing, that we are not able to see the relatedness between each other. So that's why we think of ourselves as different, and with that difference we create this kind of discrimination which causes jealousy. So the basis for jealousy is comparison. Like when we start comparing ourselves with other people based on certain things, based on certain differences, like we may compare based on wealth, or based on status, or based on post, or based on anything, even gender, or anything which which we are comparing on the basis of that, causes that difference is there. And that difference, if we highlight because of the fact that we think that we are different from each other, then that creates jealousy. So as you can see, that's just the absence of the feeling of being related to each other. Yeah. So that's about jealousy. And what was the other question?
Deepti Thapiawala asking on YouTube that
Yeah,
why
okay.
students
So
feel jealousy while their friends get the branch of selected choice.
yeah, so it's this is the same thing actually. If you see, like, there are so many examples. So that could be one example, because of the fact that you want something and you didn't get it and your friend got it, right? So then you feel like you should have gotten it. So then you're feeling like you're missing something and somebody else is getting something. But if you see broadly, this keeps happening all the time, right? Like, um, your friend, so that's why you're able to see it directly for your friend. But then if you see in a broader sense, then there are so many people getting that branch which you're not getting, and there are so many people not getting the same branch also. So it's happening so widespread. So we're looking only at one incident because we see that that friend is known to us, so we are able to see it only that way. But broadly you can see that this is happening everywhere. So the solution is to see what you want and work towards what you want, rather than focusing on what the others are getting and what you are not getting, and that way, because whatever you have to do is your own path is different. So focusing on what the other is getting or not getting doesn't have anything to do with what you are getting actually, right? So that way you can focus on your journey, on what you have to do, and then make all the effort for that, and also help the others to see this and make the same efforts, so that way both people grow, rather than it being that one person goes ahead and one person goes behind. So this can be a little bit hard to do in real life, but then if you are able to see this, then you can start making a program to achieve this kind of result, and it is possible.
Yeah, very nice. And
Right, Dr. Vaishali, ma'am has raised her hand. And Dr.
Uh,
Vaishali, you have the mic, please.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Vaishali.
Uh, my question is about how to express love and care towards our children, because all parents love their children. They are taking care of their children. But what happens? Some parents they do express their love and care about their children, but some parents do not do. Means they are not expressing their love and care about their children, but that is there in their that those parents. So how to express love and care about the children?
So we will talk about care and guidance, but the basic thing to see is that we can see that we all want to be happy, and happiness comes from our, first of all, right understanding, right? So if we work towards right understanding, and we help the child also to have the right understanding, then it will lead to mutual happiness. So when we see the feeling of care, we will go through this also. That feeling of care
Okay.
feeling of responsibility towards the body of my relative. So that means if you have a child, then you're working towards giving him or her the right kind of nutrition, right kind of diet, right kind of clothes, right kind of environment for the physical facilities, all the house and all that, right? So that is what most parents are anyway doing, right? That they are out of their responsibility towards the body of their child, they are giving them all the physical facilities which are required for their comfortable growing up, comfortable living and all. And at the same time we can see that we also have, as a parent or as being related to anyone, parent, or it doesn't have to be parent also, but anyone, when we have this feeling of affection, then we also have to look at the self. So the right understanding of the self is also equally important, or more important, we could say. So the feeling of responsibility towards the self of your relative, that is guidance. So they are both important, and right now we are largely focusing on the care aspect, not so much on the guidance aspect. So when we start focusing on this, um, then the next step is only expressing these feelings. But the first step is having these feelings within ourselves, and for having these feelings we also need right understanding. So basically it comes down to the same thing, that we need right understanding as the base for doing anything forward. And while we're working on our own right understanding, we can also work on uh, helping the other self, or the self of the child, understand these feelings and get the right understanding basically about everything, which was all discussed, like the right understanding. So working towards right understanding and helping the child work towards right understanding will be the solution overall.
Okay.
And then expression of those feelings can be done in various ways. So some people express it in a certain way, some people express it in a different way. But basically, if the other person understands what your feeling is, then the expression doesn't matter so much, because he's able to understand your feeling directly. So that is the ideal situation where your expression of the feeling doesn't matter as much. But in cases where the other person understands only with the expression, then you automatically have that feeling within you. So then when you express it also, it's very genuine because it's very real. So you can express it in various ways, whichever you feel comfortable, and your child will be able to understand that. So that's how it can be done.
Okay, and how to develop right understanding, and or this will right understanding will take time to develop right
it is
understanding. It
through
will
self
time.
exploration. The method is self exploration, and there are so many proposals which have been shared. So the method is to be aware of your thoughts, your desires, your actions. Be aware all the time. To start with, you can be aware every 1 hour or every 2 hours. You can just start being aware of what is going on in the mind and all these things, and then also link your personal life, as in all your whatever incidents are happening. You can always correlate with the proposals being shared. And as you develop more and more awareness towards what is happening, you can see that, um, and you start exploring also the proposals while you're seeing the life incidents happening, then you can slowly start developing the right understanding.
And to get that happiness and everything, right understanding is important.
Yes, because happiness is in the
Hello.
self. And yeah, yeah, I was just saying happiness is in the self, so right understanding in the self will ensure happiness, because we are looking at the harmony overall, harmony at the four levels, how we have seen here that these are the four levels: harmony in the human being, harmony in the family, harmony in society, harmony in nature and existence. So
Okay.
happiness is to be in harmony, and when we can see that the happiness, the being in harmony involves understanding harmony and living in harmony, these two things, right? So understanding harmony through right understanding, and living in harmony also through right understanding. as the base. That will ensure happiness. Yeah.
Okay. Thank.
Thank you. Is there any other question?
Thanks, sir. Thank. No, right now not any.
Okay, so we'll
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
sir.
Yeah, thank you. So when we see care, we can see that the responsibility and commitment we have are we feel related to the other person. So that's why we have this responsibility and commitment for nurturing and protection of the body of the other person. And the other person is your relative. It doesn't have to be a blood relation, but then this feeling of affection can be for it can be for any other person, right? It doesn't have to be a blood relation. So that way you can see that once you have this feeling, then you automatically have the responsibility and commitment for nurturing and protecting. So that is by means of physical facility largely, but it is also by means of um, other things. But you can see care and guidance, that's why they're separated, because care is mostly to do with physical facility and guidance is mostly to do with right understanding within the self. And care and guidance are a natural outcome of affection. That is also very clearly visible because once you feel very related to the other person, then you automatically get these feelings. They don't have to be separately worked on because your feeling of relationship is already so strong that these things come automatically once there is affection. And affection comes only after trust and respect. So you can see that they're in sequence. So we can just ask this question, that are we working mostly towards care or are we also focusing on guidance when we interact with the other person, the relative, who may be son or daughter or parent or whoever it may be? Do we ensure care as well as guidance, or we are largely working on care? This you can explore within yourself and see. Next, we'll talk about reverence. So, reverence is the feeling of acceptance for excellence. So, first of all, we'll see what excellence is. Excellence is the completeness of right understanding, which means that we're able to see the harmony at all the four levels of our existence. Harmony within ourselves, we're able to see it and maintain that. And we're able to do that for all the four levels, which is the family as well as society, as well as nature and the entire existence. So, that is a state where we have reached a state where we are that right understanding is complete. There's nothing left to be known in that. So that's the end state of this right understanding. End state as in like the final ultimate state. So working for excellence is very different from working within competition, because in competition one person hinders the other person from reaching his potential. In excellence, one helps the other to bring the other to his level. So we can see if there are any questions from YouTube. We can discuss. There are some questions from YouTube, and there's one hand raised also. So we can take some questions, and then we'll.
On YouTube, Rahul Gupta is asking about the trust. That why it happens that when we lose trust from someone, then we never trust on them in future.
Okay. So this is about trust. So basically, the trust is, we can see that when we lose trust, it's because of trust. We are not really looking at the competence and intention both separately, right? So we are seeing only based on the competence. So that's one thing. And the second is that we are basing it on an event which happened in the past rather than basing it on right understanding. So if you base the trust on right understanding, then you will see that you can first of all separate the intention and the competence, and then try to think about whether the other person intentionally tried to do that, which was a wrong thing, or tried to do the right thing, but he wasn't able to for some reason, and that's why it didn't work out, and that's why the event didn't happen the way it should have gone. So you can first see whether it is a lack of the right intention or lack of the right competence. And if it is the lack of the competence, then you can see even for ourselves also, we try to do so many things but we aren't able to do as much as we plan, right? So in the same way, the other person also may be like that. So that's what you can explore and see.
Well, Arjun, there are two questions which I can see. There's a child who's writing. It is a student, that is Srirang Mohan. He's writing, Sir, what should a 17-year-old boy do when his parents fight? Sir, please answer my question.
Okay, so um, the situation is that they are fighting for what also, if you can say, then it would be more, we could answer more precisely. But if they are just if they're fighting for some or the other reason, it is mostly because they're able to see that they want to make each other happy, but then they're not able to know the process, and also they might not have the competence to do that as well. So from the beginning itself, from the first feeling itself, there's an issue of trust which is not continuous. So because of that, it leads to problems in all the other places, because without trust, the other things don't really fall in place. Without trust, respect also becomes a little bit shaky, and affection, care, guidance, all the other feelings become a little bit shaky because trust is not continuous. So the the way to get out of that is to look at the harmony within ourselves and just try to answer that question, those questions about trust, right? That I want to make myself happy and I want to make the other happy, and the other also wants to be happy, the other also wants to make me happy. So once we see this, then we see that all the fights and all are happening only because of what we call misunderstanding of something. So those misunderstandings are because the trust is not being able to be maintained continuously. There are breaks. So those breaks are because of different issues within, not understanding some of the other things. Like there could be if you see practical examples, like there could be something where something didn't go right. Like suppose there was some incident between your parents where one person said something and the other person said something else, and because of that there's a fight. So that is only because the feeling of trust is not continuous. So the only way to get out of it is probably to help them to see that, help them to get the right understanding about this aspect, and also work towards your own right understanding so that they're ready to listen to you, because otherwise it'll just be like, without the feeling of relatedness, the other person is not really ready to listen. So first step would be to feel related to, like suppose the parents are fighting, right? Then the first step could be to individually talk to the parents and try to relate more with the parents individually, and then try to bring them together and try
Very
to
right. Yes, Arjun.
try to get back into the right understanding, like try to
Very,
get,
very
yeah.
right. Very well said and very right. I think the child is so sensitive towards right understanding and developing the same with his parents. So that shows that Srirang Mohan is quite concerned about human relationship and relationship harmony in family. That's so beautiful. You know, Arjun, there's something on the YouTube. Deepti Tapiawala is writing that when mom comes home from office, uh, all become happy as she is very soft in behavior. But when father comes from office to home, we do not like much, as he is normally very strict. So, and she is both have affection with children, but what to do? I mean, she, even this young girl is so concerned about harmony in family. So, if you could put forward a few of your views for Deepti.
Okay. So again, the thing is about intention and competence. That, like, do you think the father is like that because he wants to be like that and he wants to hurt the members of the family, or is it because he lacks the competence? Is it that he has the right intention, he wants to have the family together and happy and all that, but then he might lack the competence to actually, like, the action steps? The competence is to do with the action also, right? That he might not be able to do what he wants inside. Like, he might want the family to be together and happy and all that, but then his his um, his feeling is a good positive feeling, but then he's not able to do that. So because of that frustration, there could be anger, and that anger might come out as being strict also. So all these things can relate that way. So the best way is to have a discussion, and in the discussion many things can be discussed, and um, it always comes down to working towards right understanding within the family.
Yes, very right. And as we all can see in a normal way also, where care and uh, guidance is concerned. So most of the time, I mean, care is more to take care of the body. And as we see in each of our families, right, Arjun, that
Yeah.
the mother is more concerned about feeding the child well and draping the child well, and the child shouldn't catch cold, or the child should take uh, nurturing the body basically.
Right, and that is also not because the mother doesn't want to do the other things, but it's
Yes,
because that that is what is visible. So then when you can see that much, then you try to do your best in that domain, right? So when you can't see your responsibility towards the self because of the fact that we have assumed ourselves as body, and we can't see the coexistence between self and body, because of that we lack the competence to work towards guidance, and that is the reason um, we're not working towards guidance. So it's not because of a lack of intention. The intention is a very good intention, that um, the mother wants to do the best for the child, but then she may not be able to see that the self has to be taken care of, and there's a responsibility towards the self as well as the body. So since only the body is clearly in our understanding, because of that all the effort goes into care, or largely a lot of the effort goes into care, and very little effort goes into guidance. And if you see our happiness is dependent on the self. The right feelings within the self are to be ensured. So that's where the issue is also.
yes, and moreover, as I can see, the balance in the family, probably, father takes more interest into the development of the self and taking care of the self of the baby. So, in this regard, maybe the father is not really able to express rightly, and express it in a form of maybe strictness, right?
But
So
if the
probably,
father is working within himself, then he will be able to share that also. So then
yes, very
mostly
right.
the issue looks like it would be that even the father is not working towards the right understanding, but it's just that the father is probably not having the competence
Right.
to express the feelings correctly also.
Exactly. Yes. Very well said. Yes, that's very right. So, Deepti, I think we can, even Deepti can have a word with both her parents, right, Arjun?
Yeah,
And
so the conclusion over there is that sometimes the expression looks like the intention, but actually the expression is an expression of the competence only, right?
exactly.
So the
Very right.
feeling might
Very right.
be a very nice feeling towards everyone, but then when it comes out through the expression of all whatever has been going on in the mind and all that, then it comes out differently. So it could be that the intention is very pure, but then the competence to work towards that happiness and that kind of thing, that is vision, like the vision for the family might be very different from what is happening. So this is
So
all to
true.
do with the difference between the intention and competence. And we can
Very
all
right.
see for
Very
all
right.
of us actually that we intend to do so many good things, but then what we are actually able to do is so much less. So this should always be considered while looking at what the other person is doing.
Yes, and a very simple example that comes to my mind. So let's say the child is playing and the child is about to, put his hand or is about to stumble into the gas stove or anything. Then the mother would simply shrug the child or maybe give a little scolding to the child. So the intention behind that is not wrong. you know the
Right.
intention can be looked into, that the mother is bothered about the well-being of the child, but the expression over here is of a little strictness that way. So that's very right. I can see one more part in the chat. Mr. Subrot Roy is writing that true love is always expressed through service, which every parent do, and therefore expressions are not sufficient to understand love. Rather than activities are necessary and sufficient. What would you like to say about this, Arjun?
Yeah, expression is only expression of the feeling, is not the feeling, right? Expression of the feeling is just the way that you show it to others, but it's not really the actual feeling which is there is within us. So about love we will talk about a little later. So what exactly is love? The notion of love may be different for different people right now. So once we define it clearly, then we will see what exactly we're kind of referring to. So um, yeah, if there is nothing, no other questions so far till here, we will go ahead
Continue. Yes, yes.
with where we
Uh,
were.
yes, Miss Vasanti ma'am is writing something, but ma'am can just raise her hand and we can pass on the mic so that, I mean,
Yeah, we
people
can take the question. We can
directly,
take that.
yes, they can directly interact. That will be more wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Listening to our friends and our family members is more of a blessing. It's more of a better way to interact. So we'll continue, and we'll take on more reflections and queries in between.
Okay. So
Yes.
now we'll go ahead with reverence. So reverence is the feeling of acceptance for excellence. So excellence, as we already discussed, is the completeness of right understanding, which means that we are able to understand and live at harmony at all the four levels. So most of us are not there yet, but when we have the feeling of acceptance for excellence, that this is what we are working for, then we have reverence for the other. So in excellence, one helps to bring the other to his level. It's not like a competition. It's like if you can see something more, you want to help the other person also see that. So it's that kind of a feeling. And in competition, it's the opposite thing, because in competition you're trying to get ahead of the other, and sometimes you might also try to prevent the other from reaching where you want to reach. So if that thing of the branch thing, like how someone was mentioning, that is more like a competition, because only one person can get to that. I mean, there are limited seats and all that is there. So that way, it's like you could take it as a competition. But if you see excellence, in excellence, there's no competition. In excellence, we're helping everyone to come to the same level, and there's no first, second, third over there. There's only one level, which is that ultimate level, and we're all working towards that same thing. And over there, there's no difference between who comes first and second, because whoever is already at that will help the others to come to that level, and whoever is not there will take the help of the people who are at that level. So that way there is no kind of competition. So it's a totally opposite kind of a kind of a feeling. So the feeling of reverence is the feeling of acceptance for excellence. So if you can see that we are complementary to each other, right? The other is like me, then we can also see that all our effort is for sharing that complementarity, or for working towards that. Yeah, so over here we are seeing that the effort for excellence is very different for the effort for competition. And if you can see this, then you'll start making effort for excellence when you can see this excellence versus competition. And in excellence, there's no kind of, it's not relative. It's a very absolute kind of a thing, because once you can understand and live at harmony at all the four levels, then that is the completion point, or that is the end point. But if you see competition, there's always somebody higher or lower in some or the other way. So then it's very relative, and then you can never really reach an end point in that, because even in one domain, if you excel, even if you become, say, best in the world at that one thing, then there's still so many other things at which you're still lacking. So it's like a never ending kind of a thing, and then it doesn't give satisfaction also, because it's not based on understanding, it's based on trying to look different, trying to be different from the other. Like, we are trying to highlight that difference, and because of that, highlighting that difference, we are basing it on something which is relative. It has no absolute completion point. So this is the difference. If you can see that the feeling for excellence is very naturally acceptable to all of us, whereas the feeling of competition is not naturally acceptable, but we are doing it in the world today because we want to get somewhere, right? That's the current mindset which we have right now, that um, we want to do well at something, and we are not looking at the bigger picture. We're looking at only the thing from a very narrow point of view. So that's why this competition comes in. Like, changing branch and all is a very narrow issue compared to the entire existence, if you see. So when we're looking in the narrow picture, then in the smaller things, then it looks like there's a lot of competition. But if you look at the bigger picture, you can see that all those small things are very small compared to what excellence is. And excellence is naturally acceptable, whereas competition is not naturally acceptable. So now we can take any question on this if there's anything.
Yes, I'll just look into the chat as well. And yes, Vasanti ma'am. Uh, Vasi Reddy ma'am. Ma'am, you have the mic if you would like to. Uh,
Hello.
yes. Yes, Vasanti ma'am. Please go ahead.
Evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening,
Good evening.
Vasanti ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, thank you for the opportunity. Here I have a question, ma'am. Earlier when sir was discussing respect and all, it was my childhood observation, ma'am. When I used to go to my grandparents' house, no, in the neighborhood, maybe something silly, it would be telling all these things to you. But one lady used to be in the neighborhood, ma'am, in their family. She used to be very friendly with everyone and all. But because she is very friendly and she accepts everything quite naturally, no, they never offered anything very important. For example, like maybe in the village, if everyone joins, no, maybe arrangements would be very like cots or anything few. She always slept on the floor, ma'am, because and people always used to say that she is very nice. She adjusts anywhere, like a compliment they used to make, and she used to be always adjusting. Now I after listening to all these values and all, I have some I think like feeling that if a person who adjusts always, what about others responsibility? So do we need to offer them, or because they are happy with whatever they had? So I didn't understand, ma'am, how we can correlate with that. And the second thing, when a girl raised a question about, uh, uh, I mean, when mother arrives home, she is very happy, and father. Here, my observation may be like, father maybe has some expectations on children, and maybe this girl is not up to uh, father's expectations. Maybe that's why she's afraid that father would point it out. Another one, I think, for that, I think a solution, what I felt was, like, if such compatibility or maybe such issues were not there, mother and child can actually make some arrangement, like a surprising thing for father, so that he would also have a funny mood, maybe a light mind. That's what I thought, ma'am. So they can take initiative to invite him. Then I think he will also be cool. Yeah, I thought so. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So the first question about the adjusting,
Yes, sir.
that is like, we can see that we are all related to each other. If we see that, then we can also see the responsibility towards the body as well as the self. So if the other person is not getting the required physical facility for living comfortably, and so that is also required to be ensured, right? So
Yeah,
the
yeah. But,
person, the other person who is providing that facility,
mm,
if he or she is feeling related to the other person, and also having the feeling of care, then that person will do whatever is required for ensuring that care, that
yeah.
physical
But as
facility.
I told you, no, she never felt that she was not given something. Now she is no more, because she was of my grandmother's age. She was happy whatever she had, but she was never given any importance in the family, I thought, any physical facility or anything. She used to
Okay.
work a lot for their family. Okay, sir.
Yeah, so basically she has worked towards helping the others in the family, and the others have not done that much, right?
Yeah, yes, sir, that's what I observed.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, now that that is over, then nothing much can do now, because of
Yeah, but
the
such
incident is.
situations may be there somewhere else also. That's why I thought of raising this.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, the relationship is both ways. So if the person who is the adjusting person who was there, if he or she can help the others also understand uh, and share what all she's doing, and also not with a feeling that something is missing or something, but also with a feeling of trying to just trying to spread
Okay,
that
making them
feeling.
understand her contribution. Yeah.
Yeah, but not with a feeling that she's doing so much and the others are not doing, but
Yes,
just
sir.
with a feeling
It's
that
not like
just with
sacrifice,
a
but
feeling that we are all
yeah.
working together in the family as one
Yes,
unit.
yes.
So this is what I'm doing, and this is I'm doing it because I like to do it, because I feel related to you all, and just then the others automatically also feel like doing something. It's not like
Oh,
the
oh,
person has
yeah.
to tell them what to do. They'll automatically get into that feeling of relationship with the other people in the family, and then they'll automatically start doing something also. In the
Yes,
action also it will come.
yes, sir.
So all it requires is that the person who is that adjusting type of person who is doing a lot of effort for the family, that person can just share the feelings and the fact that we are one family and we are working together as one unit. So this is what
Yes,
my contribution is in terms of these all tasks, and that's all. Like I'm doing it happily, and we're not even saying that the other person has to do something, but the other person will automatically feel like doing something.
yes,
So
sir.
that will happen.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
the second question is about the father
Girls.
thinking that the
Yeah.
girl is not up to the expectations.
Maybe so, I thought. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so those expectations also have to be re-looked at, and where those expectations are coming from, like whether they're coming from preconditioning or sensation or natural acceptance.
Yes,
Like
sir.
suppose the father has a preconditioning that if the girl doesn't um, get the first rank in engineering, then it's not good enough. Suppose there's some assumption like that. So where
Yeah.
did that assumption come from? Where did that come from? That maybe there's a preconditioning that if someone comes first in the class, then they'll be more respected or they'll get a better job or something. So there might be some underlying assumptions, underlying preconditionings which cause this to happen. So if these are looked at,
I think girl can also make her father understand that the reasons for not being so. Yeah.
yeah, so all these assumptions and preconditionings of all the members of the family have to be looked at, and then this will be clearer about what the expectations, how to set the expectations right, and that can be discussed in that. So that's about that. And the third is that you had said that maybe the girl can do something like giving a surprise or
Right.
something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
so the events like a surprise are very short lived because they are going to last only till the that kind of happiness will be very temporary. So
Yeah.
um, whereas if you see right understanding, then the happiness will be continuous.
Yes, sir.
So any event which happens like a gift or something which we
For
give,
example. Hmm.
that we can't give continuously,
Yes.
and even if we give continuously, it won't have the same result continuously. Like suppose every day when the father comes back, if the girl gives a gift every day, then after a few days it will become a normal event, and there's no impact of that.
Yeah.
And similarly, if there is I mean any kind of gift or any kind of surprise, it's just it could be used just as a thrill kind of a thing once in a while if you want to do
Yeah.
that, but then that doesn't really lead to any dramatic change. Like
Maybe sometimes
it
it may
doesn't
lead to
really.
more expectations from father also. Yeah.
Yeah, it
There's a
could lead
thing.
to the
Yeah.
expectation that every month or
Yeah.
every week
Every time
or
I
every
think so.
day
That's
something should
something. Yes.
happen.
Yeah. Of course, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, so the solution is not really gifts and all, because that kind of happiness which comes from that.
No, I didn't think of gifts actually, but maybe like some games or something. I thought because I generally do that with my children. I
Okay,
plan some games. I think every day we coin something like a story, so someone has to tell a story or something like that.
okay. So that
Mm.
is actually mostly like to do with the interaction with the child, not so much to do with the event of a surprise or a gift or something.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mm.
So that is anyway good because then the child will look forward to that interaction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's what.
So yeah, so that will work also to a better extent, but not as well as right understanding, because right understanding will change the wiring inside ourselves completely, whereas these things will help to do something, but they won't be as impactful.
Yes, sir. Only it's a catalyst. Yes, sir. Mm.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you, sir.
maybe we could say that the gift is the least of least potent or least effective, and
Mm. Gift,
right
I don't think
understanding
of
is the
it
most
physical
effective.
gifts, sir. No, it's like a game. I thought because I do that in my.
Yeah, that's somewhere in between because we are having
Yes.
interaction with the child, right? So
Ah, yes, sir. So
while
that's why.
playing the game, we are communicating so much through the
Yes, sir.
feelings and
Yes.
all
Mhm.
without even saying anything. The feelings go across. So that's why it is medium we've kept like.
Yes, sir. Whenever
But
I'm
right
done,
understanding
my
will
children
ensure
would
the nine
download a video
feelings, or
game.
and
Mhm. Mhm.
that will be the best thing.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, good exploration, of course. A lot
Mm.
of interaction. Uh, uh, Nidhi Chirag ma'am is saying something on the chat. So I think of competition is not good to discuss. It is not naturally acceptable too. But we see around and see people competing. So how to address small such incidents? Sometimes even it comes to us.
Okay, so we can see both actually. We can see competition and we can see it as no competition also. It depends on how we're looking at things also, right? So that's one thing, that depending on how we're looking at things, we will see things differently. That's one thing. But if you're saying that this thing about limited seats and only this many people can get there and all that, then you can see that that's one small event. Like college is one small event of 4 years out of your whole life of 100 years. So like that, there'll be these minor competitions here and there, and that is how the current system is right now. So living in that system, we are also a part of that system. So then we can see these kind of things, and there are so many issues and so many things which are not naturally acceptable within our current systems. But if we see broadly, then there's a lot of scope to work for excellence. Like there's no one stopping us from understanding and living at harmony at those four levels which were discussed. So um, on the in the short run or in the smaller picture, we can see that there's a lot of things going on. Some are naturally acceptable, some are not. But in the bigger picture, there's no one stopping us from working towards excellence. So and we can see both things. We can see competition and we can see that there's no competition also. It depends on our perception of everything. Depends on how we look at everything that we look at. Yeah.
That's so right. That's so very right. And Nidhi ma'am is also saying, but how can we change preconditioning from our way of conduct?
Who's preconditioning? Your preconditioning or somebody else's preconditioning?
I mean, since Nidhi ma'am is putting it this way, so maybe probably since she had earlier put up this thing, so maybe it's in continuation with that. And then at the YouTube again, we have Rohit. Rohit Gat is saying also, uh, I want to know, should people give them third chance who break your trust?
Yeah, if the trust is based on the events which happened in the past, then there'll be a problem. That suppose that break of trust is, again, like we have to see competence and intention, right? So if somebody was not able to do something which he was expected to do, then that lack of competence, we're assuming that it is the lack of intention. So first thing to see is that, is it a lack of intention or is it a lack of competence? And second thing to see is that if we have seen that it is just a lack of competence, then the effort can be made to improve that person's competence. Um, uh, so there's no real problem with trusting the person again. And when we are trusting the person again for the next event that is going to happen, then we just have to know that we have to assess and see what is the other person's competence, and is he likely to make the same mistake again or no. And if yes, then the solution is to help the other person see that and help the other person work towards improving his competence.
I think that's very right. And
And
uh,
there's also a case where sorry to interrupt, there's also a
yes,
case
please.
where you might not be able to do that. Like you might realize that the other person has less competence and you have more competence, but then you might not be able to improve that person's competence, because you might not you both might not be insured in that relationship. Like you might not have the feeling of trust from both sides. So if that trust is not ensured, then it is hard to communicate with the other person also. So in those cases, you can't really do much until you develop the competence to do so yourself. So in that case, it's a lack of competence of us also. So that way you can see.
I think that's so very right, because what Srirang Mohan is writing, this particular answers his question which he's put up. So how can we know who to trust? So as you said, the trust is a feeling which has to be embedded within us, which has to be assured within us.
And we are
So
looking at the trust as two parts, intention and competence. So
yes,
when he's asking who to trust, we can first see that that for both of us, the two people involved or whoever people are involved, we can see that we want to be happy and we want to make the other happy. And similarly, we can see that the other also wants to be happy and the other also wants to make you happy. So when we can see this much, then we can see that their intention is the same as your intention, which is to to be happy and to make the other happy, right? So if you can see this much, then from the point of view of intention, it is very clear. So you can trust everyone on the basis of their intention, if you can see this. And
Right.
then the competence you have to assess based on his skills, right? His skills to see if he's able to do what he says.
Yes, so very right. And immediately I saw Professor Srinivas Reddy. He is quoted something, a person who has got a lot of support up to certain level from others, thereafter treating uh, as an enemy. Is it due to lack of competence or lack of right understanding?
I didn't get the question exactly.
Maybe there is a little bit of, but I presume what I perceive from, if Srinivas Reddy sir, if you would please raise your hand, I'll just pass on the mic to you so that you can directly express it yourself. Uh, I think that'll be better. Reddy sir, if you could just raise your hand, I'll just pass on the mic to you. Okay. Shall I reread this part? A person who has got a lot of support up to certain level from others. Uh, if I could read that from others, thereafter treating as an enemy. Is it due to lack of competence or lack of right understanding?
So it wasn't that clear still, but anyway, I think what he means is that if somebody has helped somebody a lot and he's reached very far in some field, then um but I don't know why the other people would treat him as enemy. I mean, I didn't get exactly what he means.
I mean, majorly the lack of right understanding would probably, uh, create such kind of a situation. Maybe. And then Mr. Subrat Roy has again written something which I would just read out. If we analyze the word preconditioning, we find that uh, two different time are associated. One is the present and the other is the past. During this journey, we accumulate so many experiences through activities and they become our sanskar. In Bengal, there is a saying, Manas Avyasar Das, which means a person is slave in the hand of his or her habits. Thus, we have to work during the journey to build our preconditioning such that we can accept what comes in our path and address it. Oh my.
Okay, so if we look at the preconditioning, we can see that the preconditioning is coming from not knowing something. If we know something directly, then there's no need for any kind of preconditioning. So over here, when we are saying that there's a difference in preconditioning between the past and the present, that will definitely be there based on our experiences. Because as our experiences are changing every day, we have different experiences. So, in the same way, the preconditioning may keep changing. And we also have some innate uh, natural acceptance, which is totally pure and which is the same for everyone, universal. So these are two different things. So the natural acceptance is something which is innate, which is pure, whereas the preconditioning is something which is acquired, and it is acquired from various sources, various impressions come, and that's how we acquire those things. And then based on those preconditionings, we develop certain habits and tendencies. So those habits and tendencies decide what our future is going to become, because based on those habits over a period of time become what we are, like our whole thing of whatever we are doing is based on our habits. Like suppose we have a certain habit to do something. Suppose we have a habit to wake up early in the morning. We have a good morning routine and good what do you call, food and all that. Then the outcome of that is good health, right? So in the same way, whatever habits you have, they lead to some or the other outcome. So those tendencies or habits lead to some or the other outcome, and those habits and tendencies are formed based on our various things, right? Based on our preconditionings, also based on natural acceptance, also based on sensation also. Some may come from sensation, some may come from natural acceptance, some may come from preconditioning. So the idea is to work on developing the right understanding such that all our habits and actions and thoughts and everything is aligned with our natural acceptance. So if this is done, then we will be more set for everything. Like we'll not have these issues. But of course, that looks a little bit far right now. So the first step is to analyze our preconditionings and see what is naturally acceptable, what is not, and then try to work towards knowing, so that we don't have to rely on any preconditioning, and so that we are not dependent on any kind of exterior input for our actions.
Yes, very well said. And in fact, like Srinivas sir is also expressing his, uh, you know, like his, since his address has been taken up, so he's quite satisfied about that. And Srirang is Mohan. He is, in fact, he's put up a part which says that in these years of experienced life, uh, who do you trust the most? And also why, sir? So maybe he wants to. And Arjun, what I'm seeing is that in this present time, since I see that we are so much so technology based, that even if when we sit across the table, we like to chat on our phones. So I've been requesting all the children here, students also, to raise their hands so that they can talk. And this and the child is continuously using the chat message, though that's good, but we would like to hear you, beta, so that we feel happy and good about talking to you in person. Of course, I'll request Deepthi Tapiwala to please join our Zoom session. Of course, you're on YouTube, we can see, but if you join us in our Zoom session, we'll be able to interact with you directly. And
Yeah,
yes,
I think we will take the question next time because it's already
yes,
8:40.
that's what I said, that we are
So,
going to close the session now because the session is up to 8:30. But
but we'll
Arjun,
continue on the same thing on the next
yes,
time.
we'll continue. Yes. And next Wednesday, we'll continue our session on the same. But of course, with the request that we would like more of an interaction so that we can pass on the mic and interact with each other. Uh, uh, in person, we can listen to each other. That will be more happening and more happy. And of course, on Friday, we'll have a session on health. And every Friday of every week, we'll be having a session on health. Okay. So, Srirang, beta, you've been very interactive throughout. But yes, he's saying, okay, ma'am, next time I'll interact directly. Arjun. So,
Nice, nice.
that's nice. That's so good. So, I think, Arjun, with this, of course, I like to thank you for being so interactive with our participants and students. And I mean, we'll have more interactive session, and we'll continue with our effort for excellence and effort for competition and so on in our next
We'll
weekly.
talk about the other feelings. Some are left: glory,
Yes,
gratitude,
yes, we'll talk about that
and that.
too.
Yeah,
Yes, we'll further move into the rest of the feelings as well.
yes.
And with this, of course, we say namaste and bye bye. So
Namaste. Thank you to all. Namaste.
thank you and stay safe. Stay safe, healthy, and we'll meet again next week on
Sure,
Wednesday.
sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Namaste. We'll
Namaste
close the
to all.
session, Parikshit.